World Travel Radio, in association with breaking travel news, brought to you by the World Travel Group.
Hello, I'm Phil Blizzard here on World Travel Radio, and in this edition we look at the development of seaborne voyages with Cunard. We check in with the CEO of Dubai International Airport as they move to the top of the list of the world's busiest airports. And our featured destination is the Philippines. But first we start with some of the latest news from across the travel and tourism industry.
World Travel Radio.
Travel news now, and we start with the Oscars of the travel industry, the World Travel Awards, and it's been announced that the grand finale for the 2014 tour is to take place on November the 29th at the Palais de Congrès, which is part of the exclusive Palmeiras Golf Palace in Marrakesh. On to aviation now, and business class only services seem to be taking off, with Qatar Airways in the Middle East offering a daily service from Doha to London Heathrow using an Airbus A319 configured for up to just 40 passengers. Whilst French boutique airline La Compagnie has just announced it will launch its Paris to New York service on July the 11th, with an all-business class layout using a Boeing 757 with just 74 seats. The carrier, which had previously used the working name Dreamjet, will offer the round trip from a starting point of $1,800. Wow. And staying with aviation, Dubai International Airport has overtaken London Heathrow Airport as the busiest in the world. And here on World Travel Radio, we speak with CEO Paul Griffiths next.
World Travel Radio.
On this occasion, talking with Paul Griffiths, CEO of Dubai Airports, and we're at Dubai International Airport where there's a lot of development going on. So, Paul, nice for you to join us once again.
It's always a pleasure, Phil.
Figures. The Airport Council International put out figures that you have now surpassed, in terms of international passenger numbers, Heathrow Airport. So, what's your spin on this? What's your take?
Well, we're taking the slightly longer view on this because the difference between traffic summer-winter is obviously more pronounced in Europe than it is here in the Middle East, where we are busy 24/7 year-round. So we're taking a slightly cautious view, and we would like to see a rolling 12 months situation develop, and then once we see fairly solidly that we're achieving figures that exceed Heathrow, then we'll be a bit more vocal about claiming the number one spot. But I've always said that, growth is just about numbers. To me, it's the slightly more subjective view. Do our customers think we're the best airport in the world? And we've got a bit of job to do on that. So I'll be that much prouder to announce when we're number one for service as well as being number one for international passengers.
But sticking with those figures for a moment, the growth you've seen is what, 11.4% around that?
That's right, yes, exactly. Yes, we grew over 16% during last year, and seeing 11% during the sort of slightly quieter months is still very good because we're maintaining our double-digit growth which we've had since 1960. Clearly the runway works that we're currently going through at the moment will have an impact on our overall annual growth figures, but we're still thinking that we're going to get to a figure that will be very satisfactory by the end of this year.
Paul Griffiths, CEO of Dubai International Airport, aiming high in not only passenger numbers but also looking for that number one spot in terms of quality of service. I'm Phil Blizzard, and this is World Travel Radio. Next we look at the luxury liner company Cunard, and following that will be our featured destination in this programme, and that's going to be the Philippines.
World Travel Radio.
Earlier in the year I joined on board the Cunard liner Queen Mary the International Development Director David Rowson to find out more about the latest trends in their business and also challenges faced in having a full liner for their voyages of discovery.
Filling them isn't so much a difficulty. Our challenge is making sure that we're filling them with the right mix of customer. And Cunard is very much an international brand, so we're very keen to make sure we get that international flavour reflected in any voyage we do. A lot of that is about the deployment, so where we are visiting and where we're embarking and disembarking from. That will naturally gain a certain or disproportionate number of that particular audience. The challenge I suppose we have is making sure that the price is right, it's attractive to the customer, but it's also clearly a price that can make the company a reasonable margin.
Sure. And are there changing trends when it comes to people making bookings?
There has been a movement online, but I think that's got to a point whereby it's around about 10% for a little bit less, 8% for Cunard, and I think the cruise industry is at about 10% generally. The cruise and the voyages that we offer have a level of complexity in them that generally requires a certain amount of manual support.
Sure.
So call centres often are there to back up any of the information finding people do online.
And I suppose, as you're saying, with your cruises selling out, your voyages selling out, people need to book early in order to get the cabin of their choice.
That's it, and we do have a pre-registration period in which some of the key cabins, and people they have some great loyalty to Cunard, but they also have loyalty to a particular cabin on a particular ship.
Okay.
And so we do get a lot of people going very early for particular cabins. So yes, the earlier the better.
Right. And what can we expect from Cunard over the next few years?
Well, no new ship planned just yet. Our fleet is still young, and we feel that there's still plenty of nautical miles left in all of them.
Okay.
But we are looking at refits on all three ships in the next 16 months. And so all three ships will be going back into dry dock, and we're looking at different designs and different uses of the public areas, and certainly refreshing a number of our customers' favourite areas as well.
Now, I've said finally a couple of times, this is definitely the final one. What about changing markets, changing markets for you?
Yeah, I mean, so the UK has been a very strong traditional market for us, as has the US. Germany has really strengthened in the course of the last 2 to 3 years. But one of our biggest markets now, no doubt going forward, is Asia. Asia, and in particular Japan, in the last 2 years has really started to make significant moves and interest in cruising in general. Australia has also been a very strong market, and that continues to grow. So Australasia in total is probably now giving us around about 15 to 20% of our customers.
David Rowson of Cunard on the strong growth in Asia, and that is where we're heading next on World Travel Radio. I'm Phil Blizzard, and we're heading off to the Philippines, where apparently it's much more fun, as I discovered at the Arabian Travel Market, which was held last month in Dubai.
World Travel Radio.
Travelling around the world here at the Arabian Travel Market in Dubai, I'm Phil Blizzard for World Travel Radio, breaking travel news out of London. And now we're in Asia, we're looking at the Philippines, what the Philippines has to offer travellers from all over the globe. And I'm talking with Glenn Austin, who's the Chief Tourism Operations Officer at the Market Development Group for the Department of Tourism. Quite a long title, isn't it, really?
Yes, it is. It is, Phil.
So, Glenn, I mean, the Arabian Travel Market in Dubai. Dubai is really almost like the centre of the world, the hub of the world. So what's the message you're trying to put over to visitors to this important show?
Well, the Philippines is a fun place. That's what we'd like to project. We're kind of a late entrant in that sense, but we're focusing now on Emiratis and the expats from this side, so that they can take vacations, leisure trips to the Philippines.
Oh, yeah. And around your neck, you've got a banner or a strap which says, "It's more fun in the Philippines."
Yes. Every one of us.
All of you.
On this booth. In this booth.
So when you say it's more fun, what can visitors expect in terms of this fun element?
Basically, it's that Filipino quality of making you smile and letting you have a good time.
Because of the time to get to the Philippines, when you get there, you want to have quite a bit of time. There's a lot to see, a lot to do, a lot to explore. I mean, the number of islands is phenomenal.
Yes.
Remind me of the number of islands.
Oh, it's 7,107 islands, and this is on low tide.
Low tide. Okay.
There's a joke always there that
right, yeah.
when it's on high tide, one of the islands vanishes. Yeah.
Okay, just one.
But yes, we are the tour packages that are prepared for the long haul market, and even the statistics on the stay of people from the long haul market are really 14 days above.
Sure.
So, and that's the reason why those particular long haul markets are important to us. because they give the tourist receipts that we need.
And the gateway, of course, is Manila, but
Manila.
there are other options now, especially
certainly, yes.
from the Middle East region.
Right. There's Clark, and there's Cebu, of course. So Clark caters to the northern part of the Philippines, where which is very popular for Europeans. The rice terraces, the vegan old houses, traditional houses, traditional churches.
Now, Glenn, to finish off, it might be quite hard to give me a few must things to do. So can you perhaps give me 1, 2, 3 things any visitor must do when they go to the Philippines?
Okay. When it comes to visiting destinations, I would like to suggest that they visit Boracay.
Right, yeah.
Yes, try out the high-end and not so high-end resorts.
If I get it right, this is one of the islands, one of the beautiful
Boracay
islands.
is one of the best beaches. Was said as one of the best beaches in the world.
Okay. Number 2?
Number 2, I'd like you to visit Cebu. Cebu for me is very historical. This is where the Spanish established their colony, the very first colony, and it's got lots of forts. So aside from it being a cosmopolitan place, it's got the beach as well.
Because you've had a lot of visitors in this.
Oh,
I call them
certainly.
visitors. I mean, colonial invaders or visitors over the
certainly.
decades.
300 years under the Spanish rule.
Okay.
40 years under American rule. And the last one is Palawan.
Palawan.
I'd like for everyone to visit or consider visiting the underground river.
Oh, right,
It's a for tourists, it's a 2-kilometer trip under the mountain.
Wow, wonderful.
It's a huge cave system. But
you get on a boat, do you?
Yes, you get on a outrigger boat.
Okay.
We're there for 7 people. There's a guide.
All right.
He lights you up. There are no batteries. There are only the batteries on no motors.
Okay.
So
wonderful.
it is so that it doesn't pollute the place.
Yeah, sure.
So this was elected as one of the, cited as one of the 7 new wonders, natural wonders of the world.
Glenn, 3 places to go out of 7,000 plus islands, so I think it's more than 2 weeks.
Certainly.
I think one needs perhaps 7 years.
If you have more time.
Glenn, thanks very much for joining us. Talking there with Glenn Austin, who's the Chief Tourism Operations Officer for the Market Development Group, Department of Tourism in the Philippines. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you. I'm Phil Blizzard and you're listening to World Travel Radio, and in our next edition, and bearing in mind the FIFA World Cup 2014 fever is happening in Brazil, I'll be talking to Emirates Airline about their global sports marketing activities. We'll have a featured destination and more. So until the next time, wherever you are, we wish you safe travels.
World Travel Radio, in association with breaking travel news, brought to you by the World Travel Group.